Hello, everyone. The entrepreneur we chose for today is Vera Wang. She is an American fashion and lifestyle designer, and we're going to discuss her failure to join the Olympic figure skating team.
Her name is now almost synonymous with the global bridal gown design industry, and her brand has an overall retail value of over $1 billion. She's arguably the most prominent bridal wear designers in America today, with a large Hollywood following, and her fashions are frequently worn to film premieres and award ceremonies by a number of high-profile actresses and celebrities. Vera's is not just a bridal wear company, it is a top global lifestyle design business spanning fashion, beauty, jewelry, cosmetics, sleepwear, and home products. Very relevant to the failure that we now present, she also designs skating costumes for figure skaters including Nancy Kerrigan, Michelle Kwon, Evan Lisacek, and Nathan Chen. However, her road to success was not that smooth, and one of the hardships that she had to endure was her devastating, with her own words, failure in a very different career path in 1968. Vera Ellen Wang was born on June 27, 1949. Yes, she doesn't look 72 at all. In New York, as the daughter of affluent Chinese immigrants. She attended the School of American Ballet, where she began figure skating at the age of 8, and by the age of 12, she already won her first regional championship in figure skating. Throughout her teens, she competed in ice skating professionally, and during high school, she trained with her pairs partner James Stewart and competed with him also in junior pairs skating at the 96 US Figure Skating Championships at her age 19. There, they placed 5th in the competition, and despite her serious and dedicated training, practice, and intensive competition, she failed to qualify as a member of the 1968 Olympic team, and she fell short of her Olympic dreams. She left ice skating behind, and for her, quitting was a sign that she failed. She was already in her late teens, and she knew that 19 was already considered old in that arena, and she realized that she had already reached the peak of her skating skills. There were also younger and better skaters coming up the ranks, and that's why she quit her skating career. And first, before everything, she completed her degree in art history. Let's see how she recalls those times.
Yeah.
Vera, how did you get started, and how did you get where you are today?
Well, I think that my fashion career was sort of a happy accident because I really wanted to be an Olympic skater, and I didn't make the team. And so after skating was over, my skating career was over, I had to find something else that I felt I had enough passion for. And fashion became that other passion for me, and so I went to work.
So now I'm going to discuss how she coped with this failure.
There are 3 main ways in which Vera coped with failure: resilience, pivoting, grit, and perseverance. First, resilience. She kept a positive attitude and had the ability to regulate her emotions and to be able to see her failure as a form of helpful feedback. For example, ice skating requires failing. As Vera says, there's an old skater saying, "Don't be afraid of falling. It's 90% falling. Otherwise, you don't master anything. You might hurt your ass, or break your ankle, or crack a rib. It's the same thing in life. There are other places to go, other things to try. So don't be afraid of failing. I think not trying is worse than failing. Have the courage to try. Otherwise, what are we here for?" Her moving her passion from ice skating to fashion is another coping tool called pivoting. She realized she had reached her peak at ice skating, and that wasn't enough to fulfill her goal of going to the Olympics. So she accepted her failure and decided to move on. About her decision to quit, she said, "I didn't feel like I had reached the summit, the absolute top. It wasn't like I was insanely ambitious, but in my own mind, I always fell short." She did not give up finding her passion as a whole. She instead switched to something in which she could succeed and reach a higher level, which was fashion. She explained, "When you have a passion for something, then you tend not only to be better at it, but you work harder at it too." Last but not least, grit and perseverance were extremely important for Vera's success. It seems like she always possessed these two coping mechanisms, because the life of a figure skater is all about falling and getting back up. Vera says, "It's a wonderful sport for a young woman. It teaches you discipline. It gives you the joy of self-expression. There's speed, there's movement, and when you fall down, you pick yourself up and try again. It's a good metaphor for life." This is exactly what Vera did when she realized her dream of becoming an Olympian would never happen. She gritted her teeth and persevered so that she could reach the top of another industry. And she conquered it.
Now that we know how she coped, let's take a look at the lessons Vera learned.
Vera Wang learned many lessons from her failure in her ice skating career, and she took these with her to create her company. A major reason why Vera succeeded is because she very clearly has a growth mindset, not a fixed one. Ice skating as a sport is all about embracing mistakes and learning from them, adapting and changing in order to become better at what you need to do. From a young age, Vera was developing all of the different components of the growth mindset model every time she went out on the ice. Whenever she fell, she would need to get back up and try again, slightly differently, in order to improve. She had to take advice and criticism from her coaches, and constantly try new techniques in order to get better at her craft. She couldn't be afraid to try, because the fear would only hold her back from her Olympic dream. She was persistent in her training and in competition, as evidenced by the fact that she spent 11 years working on her abilities. Yet, she was still practical. At the age of 19, she realized that she would never be able to achieve her Olympic goal, and so she left the sport. At the time, she had no idea what direction to go in. All she knew was that if she kept on going with professional figure skating, she would only end up disappointed. And yet, leaving was still heartbreaking for her. She explained, "When you try to become an elite athlete, it's your happiness and your torture at the same time. It's something you live to do. It's the kind of dedication and passion for something that I don't know if everyone gets to experience. And when it's over, and you feel like you failed, to bounce back from that, it takes so many different things. It takes time, it takes an acceptance that you have to move on, and it takes being open to new experiences." Although she considered this her biggest failure, she did it mindfully. Vera did not wish to waste her life chasing a goal she knew she wouldn't be able to attain, so she walked away. Even though it was her biggest passion at the time, she remained optimistic and hopeful that she would be able to find a new one. When Vera turned her energies towards fashion, she took what she learned from her failure with her. No longer was she solely focused on the end goal. Instead, she strove to constantly learn and improve. Reflecting on her failure, she expressed, "It seems to be a similar thread throughout everything, which is that your life isn't always measured by tangible results. What it really is in the end is the process and what you learn about yourself and about life. That's something I've taken with me. No matter how bad things get, no matter how discouraged I feel, no matter how much of a failure I feel like, and that applies to motherhood, friendship, everything, I try to believe there's a reason, there's a process, and there's a learning experience. Maybe the journey is where I gained wisdom, where I gained confidence, a sense of reality, a sense of creativity. None of this has been easy." And although it definitely wasn't easy to deal with at the time, because of what she learned from her failure, Vera now has one of the biggest fashion empires in the world.
Now we would like to suggest some alternative ways of coping.
Although the idea of mindfulness wasn't as popular when Vera had her first failure as it is today, this could have been a great way for her to cope. From a young age, she was conditioned to strive for perfection, but when she experienced her failure, she focused on emotion-centered ways of coping. Through mindfulness, she could have used non-judgmental practices to bring awareness to her feelings, experiences, thoughts, and surroundings, rather than allowing her failure to define her next set of actions. If Vera practiced deep mindfulness, she could have seen the loss as a minor setback and continued to be confident in her abilities. Another way of coping Vera could have used would have been to rely on her support system and seek professional help. Instead of running away to Paris alone, she could have dived into her vulnerability and asked for help. Often this can be difficult to open up to your close friends and family or to speak to a therapist about your downfalls, but can ultimately give one an alternative perspective that may not have been seen in any other way. When being vulnerable, feelings of shame, depression, and fear come up. To quiet those feelings and not lean into them is doing a disservice to oneself. Rather than simply picking up, brushing herself off, and going on with her life, had Vera allowed herself to truly feel every emotion, be vulnerable, allow the situation to make itself known and felt, and share with those in her circle, she could have felt the support not only of herself, but of her loved ones as well. Another way to cope while being open to showing vulnerability is to seek professional help through therapy. While there are many types, cognitive behavioral therapy has been proven to help immensely using coping mechanisms tailored to each case. A therapist will be able to show the patient compassion that they may not have been able to show themselves. One can't pour from an empty cup, so to be able to convey compassion from a place of vulnerability is incredibly important in the healing process. Also, healing isn't linear. Vera may have felt she jumped forward in the process, then went back to her original state, and with the help of CBT, Vera could have coped in a more efficient way with practices to take along the way and help her in her future endeavors.